Hi there, hey there, ho there, YouTube. This is July's comic review. Even though it's August, let's just say July was a busy-ass month, even though I was on vacation for a week, but the summer gets away on you, even if you're not really doing much. The summer's the summer. It happens. But I am here now, and we're going to start off with some Ninja Turtles. First up, issue 2 of the latest incarnation of the Saturday morning adventures line. So in this one, the Rat King is in control of the turtles. Donatello is back at the lair working on a solution to free the turtles from the Rat King's influence, along with Splinter, and I think April's there as well. And in the meantime, the Rat King has the turtles out, and they're in the sewer system, and they're damaging the sewer tunnels so that the water of probably the Hudson River or whatever it is going to flood in and do stuff like that. They're also raiding cheese shops for some reason. I know the Rat King used to control rats, so maybe he has a thing for cheese. Eventually Donatello and Splinter catch up with them, and Donatello basically makes this device. It's like a taser that frees the turtles from the Rat King's influence, and he ends up zapping them all, and they get into a big fight with the Rat King and stuff, and the Rat King re-exerts his influence over the turtles, so Master Splinter has to kind of take over and best the Rat King in order to free the turtles and kind of end this threat. In the end, the Rat King gets imprisoned, and but we see a little rat show up with keys to his cell, so maybe now that he's lost his connection to the turtles, he's back in control of the rats now, and it looks like he's out for some vengeance. Also, at the very start of the issue, we see Shredder approach Krang with this weird little rock thing that he says is the part of some sort of asteroids, and that's all they really go into with that. So we know the two of them are up to something. We just don't know exactly yet what that something is. Next up, issue 8 of, what's it called again? The Armageddon Game. I was like, I've been reading these for a while now, and I'm like, I've been looking at this cover for a while, and I totally drew a blank on it. But yes, issue 8 of the Armageddon Game, and it is the final issue of the Armageddon Game. So basically, when this last part of the story starts up, we have a few different things happening. We have the turtles in the thin place with Kitsune and Shredder. The Rat King ends up finding them there, and that's where the final battle against the turtles begins to unfold. The Rat King's weird collection of siblings, Toad Baron and all those people, are discussing the matter and are like, oh, should we get involved, blah blah blah. So they're debating on what they're gonna do. And in the meantime, back in Mutant Town, or outside of Mutant Town, April and Sally meet with Baxter Stockman, the mayor of New York, and lay out what's going to happen, basically, because Krang is dead. Madame Null has been imprisoned and is in stasis now. The 4 turtles he had masquerading, or the 4 guys that he had masquerading as the Mutant Ninja Turtles, have all been captured. And Karai has so much information on Baxter Stockman's suspect dealings that if they ever went to the authorities, he'd be in big trouble. So they basically lay out a plan like, okay, this is what's going to happen. Mutant Town's going to be its own town. Everything's going to be cool. You're going to go on, do this and make everything good with mutants and stuff like that. So they're basically making him correct all the damage that he sowed with his alliance with Madame Null and the Rat King and all that. But the main part of this issue is the battle between the turtles and the Rat King, and it doesn't go well at first. Eventually, the Rat King's siblings get involved. Some of them perish in the battle, and in the end, the turtles are like, you know what we gotta do? We gotta do that final move that Kitsune taught us in the thin place. So they eventually have to team up, do their special move to defeat the Rat King, and in the end he is defeated. So there's a quick epilogue about things kind of the dust settling and stuff like that, but at the end we see the Utroms taking Krang's dead body back, and it looks like they've got something up their sleeve sort of thing. And then the last thing we see is Metalhead, the robot, the turtle robot, kind of his eyes light up and stuff like that. So that might be a bad portent for the Ninja Turtles moving forward, in terms of maybe their enemies aren't quite totally gone away yet, but we'll find out. Next up, issue 140 of the regular ongoing Turtles series. This takes place after that, so it's been about a month after the Armageddon game is over and Rat King has been defeated. Things are settling down. The mutants in Mutant Town are trying to find their place. The Turtles are out on patrol, but in the headlines, there are some missing mutants being reported, so things aren't quite as hunky-dory as they would like. You know, everybody's basically rebuilding their lives and settling into what is a new sort of normal. Raph ends up having a big disagreement with the other Turtles about what they should be doing and stuff like that, so he kind of goes off and spazzes out a little bit and discovers the dead body of a mutant we see attacked by some sort of big mutant, but it's in the shadows, so we can't quite tell what exactly it is. And Raph discovers this body right at the end of the issue, right as the cops stumble onto the scene and assume he did it, and Raph gets arrested. Also, while this is going on outside of Mutant Town, part of the deal April and Sally presented Baxter Stockman with is that you're going on a press junket around the country or whatever, talking about Mutant Town, talking about the events, and kind of bringing understanding to the rest of the world about mutants and what they're all about, and Mutant Town and everything. So he's on there with Siri the Triceraton and somebody else, kind of with some mutant and alien kind of representation on this panel sort of thing. And yeah, that's kind of where this one leaves off. So when we get back into that next time, Raph's going to be in jail. And I looked at the cover of the next issue, and it's like a mugshot of Raph, like in prison with the little board and stuff. I really hope they pick that one out for me when I pick up my comics, hopefully this weekend, because it looks like a pretty cool cover. So that is that. Next up, issue 4 of the Usagi Yojimbo series. In this one, it starts with this guy and his daughter out in the woods on a walk, and those mechanoid ninja samurai things that Dr. Weirwen created attack them, and as they're kind of blasting through the land, and then it pans, it pans forward to what's going on with our collection of heroes. With the army and the forces that Usagi Yojimbo belongs to, we see some dissension between the leadership there, saying we should get moving right now. Like the battle is over. We need to move on, get out of here, and get going to our next destination, whatever we're going to do next. Whereas the other guys who have the ultimate say and everything say, no, we need to stay here for a couple more days, bury our dead, let everybody recover before we start moving on. Everybody's too exhausted and heartbroken about all the loss they suffered in that last battle. So we've got some stuff going on there. In the meantime, Usagi and the Turtles have gone out on their own and searched for Dr. Weirwen so they can confront him and stop all this madness. And they eventually do find his hideout, but they run into all these mechanoids that are even worse than the ones they've run into so far. Some big spider type mechanoids, and then also this huge dragon that's even harder to destroy than anything they've faced so far. But they face that down, and they continue on their way towards Dr. Weirwen. But as that's happening, Usagi's comrades in the army that are trying to decide what they're doing next start hearing something, and they're like, all they see is a sea of those small mechanoid samurais basically blasting through the forest towards them. So they've got to they're getting prepared to whatever they're going to do, whether they stand and face these things, whether they flee. But more action is coming towards the forces of Usagi's allies there. So, and that's where that one ends up. Next one, issue number 4 of The Last Ronin, The Lost Years. In this one, it's kind of two different things going on, as it has been for this series. We start with the new breed of Ninja Turtles that April's daughter Casey is kind of bringing up and making kind of the next generation of Ninja Turtles. They're a lot older now, and she kind of has them out on a kind of a practice mission out on the streets in New York, and the four of them have to work together to try and solve this situation that she's constructed for them, and they end up fucking it up because one of them decides he needs to break from the plan and kind of take things on himself and accelerate it and do things differently, and things go awry and they don't pull the mission off. And Casey relates the story of being, you know, having to stick with your teammates, stick with the plan, and keep everybody on the same page, because when you branch off and go rogue like that, it fucks everything else up, and these are the types of results that happen, sort of thing, right? So then we fast forward to Michelangelo's story as he was becoming the last Ronin, and it's a flashback to when he was traipsing across Asia in search for Deathworm, his enemy that he wanted to chase down. He ends up getting captured. I can't remember her name, but some mean lady captures him with her forces, and they take him to this mutant encampment they have, where they force the monsters they find to fight in this kind of cage thing. And it's a fight to the death every time. So you survive by killing the other guys you're facing off against. So it shows when Michelangelo first got to this facility, he made friends with a guy named Shaka, I think his name was, and they kind of hung out and you know, helps each other sustain the environment there as the days and weeks and whatever rolled on. But the people that run this place, cruel twist of fate, they make the two of them square off in the next match. So they're like, we can't face each other. Like, I'm not going to kill him. I'm not going to kill him. Like, we're friends, right? So the match begins, and they kind of are trying to find a way to not have to fight each other and kill each other, right? And in the end, Shaka decides he's going to sacrifice himself for Michelangelo's good, and ends up perishing through kind of noble means to help Michelangelo escape and whatever. So that's the way that one ends. And this is the second last issue, so there's only one more, because I think it said to be concluded at the end of this one, if I remember correctly. Yeah, to be concluded. So we will see how this Lost Years series finishes up next time around. Also for Turtles, I found two back issues from the old Archie series. First up was number 57. In this one, the Turtles are in a spaceship chasing down Maligna, this kind of alien insect type creature that they've gotten involved with, who's a real prick. So they end up flying to this creature's kind of insectoid base where he's up to some nefarious activities, and they end up invading it and trying to stop Maligna's plans. Also along for the ride, I forget the name of the girl that's a fox that is allies with them. She's along for the ride, as is Slash, the big turtle. So Slash kind of accelerates things and gives away their location once they get inside. So the fighting starts before the Turtles. They wanted to do a bit more reconnaissance and figure out more of a plan before they engage Maligna. But Slash is too impatient and he just goes in, and so then the fighting starts right away. Also working for Maligna is Null, whose brainwashed girlfriend is Candy, who the Turtles have some history with, so they're shocked to find him there and her there. So there's kind of more things they have to worry about than just taking down Maligna. And in the end, after all the fighting, they end up screwing up their way off of Maligna's little insect asteroid thing, whatever it is, his little base. So Slash sacrifices himself to distract all the enemies while the Turtles find another way to get off. And the last thing we see is this insect base thing hurtling towards the sun, where it's going to be destroyed. So we don't know if Slash perishes in this or what happens, right? All we know is that the Turtles, you know, we're assuming escape. This one, the next one, is actually the next one in the series, number 58. This is a really cool issue. it starts and ends with a little, very like 1-2 page brief segment where we see Michelangelo aboard this tanker ship where he's been captured by what I'm assuming is the U.S. government, and he's in a cage on this ship, and they're about to perform experiments on him, and they're so excited that, like, oh my god, these mutant turtles we've been hearing about are actually real. We can't wait to see what makes it tick, right? So he's kind of stranded in this ship, and we don't know how he got there. At least I don't. We probably do. I just don't remember because I read all these issues so long ago. But he's in there kind of like, oh my god, I need to get out of here, but who's going to come rescue me, sort of thing, right? Now, in between those bookends at the start and back of this issue is a flashback story to when the turtles were just little tiny turtles. And they were kind of out patrolling the sewers when they were just little, and ran into some bad guys, some thieves or crooks or something, and foiled these guys' plans, and had a lot of fun doing it. And then when they got back to the lair, they were kind of all rowdy. They ended up breaking a vase of Master Splinter's. He ends up punishing them, and he's like, "God, blah, blah." And so part of the punishment is he gives them a series of tests. And at this point, the turtles all had just red headbands. So Master Splinter always got them confused for who was who, right? So what the turtles did was they cheated, and whoever was best at the one subject would take the test for all 4 of them, because Master Splinter couldn't really tell them apart. But he got wise to their game and ended up kind of reversing the situation on them a little bit. And also at the same time, when they're on patrol again, they meet up with these guys who wanted to come back to retrieve an item they dropped during the first encounter with the turtles. But the turtles foil these crooks again. And in the end, Master Splinter suggests, you guys got to find a way so that I can pick you guys apart more easily, so I can pick out who is who. So the turtles come in, and they have those, you know, those little beanie hats, I think, with the little propellers on top, in their colors we all know that they wear these days. So they didn't go for the headbands right away. They started with the little beanie hats. So it's kind of a cool little story, a kind of an origin story about how the turtles got their colors and their identification on who was who, sort of thing. So I thought that was kind of cool, because I don't think in all the other series of turtles and things and stuff like that, I've never seen anything mentioning how they decided on their colors and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. That's it for turtles, and it was a lot of turtles. First world problems. Okay, so the only other thing, oops, I just dropped my slipper. A slipper! The only other issues I got to this time around on my comics pickup was more of those IDW Transformers issues, those back issues that I've been kind of buying 10 of each month. I got issues 21 through 31, and I'm not sure if this is where the series ends, because it does kind of wrap up a little bit in the end. But I think this is where I'm going to cut myself off, because I didn't see any issues past 31 when I looked for them last time. So I'm assuming the series is done. And I'll just show you the covers. We got issue 21, 22, 23, 24, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, featuring Jazz. Love a good Jazz shot. 30. And then issue 31 is a picture of Megatron in toy format. I love it. So there you go, issues 21 through 31. I'm not going to give a breakdown of each individual issue because it's all kind of a smooth flowing storyline. So I'm just going to summarize kind of what happens. So as we pick up at issue 21, Rodimus Prime shows up. Everybody thought he was gone and dead or whatever. He shows up out of the blue, and Optimus Prime's like, Rodimus, you're back. Son of a bitch, this is great. Ironhide is also back. People thought he was gone. And with him, Rodimus brings news that Galvatron is amassing an army of skips, which are like, if you know the character Scourge from the original Transformers line, the skips are basically, or the sweeps, I guess. I'm sorry, I don't want to call them the skips. They're basically the same kind of bot as Scourge, but he's got all these sweeps ready to unleash an army on Cybertron and attack Cybertron, basically. So Optimus is like, Jesus Christ, what is Galvatron up to? We got to get up there and stop this, right? So he takes most of the Autobots to Cybertron to engage Galvatron. The ones that stay behind on Earth are Ultra Magnus, Bumblebee, Prowl, and Streetwise. I think it's the 4 of them. There might be one more, but definitely the 4 of them. They're staying behind because they still have a situation going on Earth. Spike Witwicky, who leads the Skywatch program that the Autobots have been working with, and they have some suspicions that he, in cold blood, killed the Constructicon Scrapper, who the Autobots had some ties with. And so they kind of want to do some investigations into him and bring him to justice for that. But in doing so, the people of Earth are still very suspect of the Transformers in general with what's happened. So they're trying to do it very covertly, and it's like when they're out on patrol, when they're out doing their reconnaissance, it's like, stay in alt mode, don't become a robot, or it's gonna create an incident, right? So eventually they do find out, they get a confession from Spike that he did kill Scrapper, and he explains his reasoning and stuff like that. So that storyline eventually plays itself out, but the main storyline is what's going on Cybertron. Galvatron, the Autobots get there, Prime and the Autobots get there. They're kind of nailed down by the Galvatron's forces. They can't really do all that much, and soon enough Galvatron is manipulating a space station in orbit called Kimia, I think, which is capable of like unleashing large blasts, like it's like a Death Star, right? And he's got it pointed right at Cybertron. So Prime's like, what the fuck is he up to, right? And then Prime finally gets what Galvatron's trying to do. He wants to blast right into Cybertron because he wants to go into its core and unleash, I forget what it's called, but some sort of power or being that Galvatron thinks will bring balance to the universe, but it's not. It's going to do the exact opposite. It's basically like going to destroy everyone and everything, sort of thing. So Prime figures this out, and he's like, oh my god, what an idiot, we got to stop him. And so he's got forces actually on Kimia, the space station, and they try to sabotage the blast from happening, but eventually Galvatron makes it happen anyways, and things just keep getting more and more dire. But then all of a sudden, a reconstructed Megatron with all this crazy armor on him bursts out of nowhere, and he starts taking the piss to Galvatron and his sweeps and starts beating the Christ out of them. So it's kind of funny that Prime is trying to save Cybertron from the clutches of Galvatron and his evil plans, and the one person or one bot that might help Prime fend this dire threat off is his worst enemy, right? So it's kind of this nice little kind of irony, I guess, that that kind of plays out at the end of this series. And yeah, so that's of course they're successful, or else we'd have no more Transformers, right? Or at least we would. They would just reboot a different storyline. But yes, they successfully have success. And the last issue, 31, is actually kind of a warp ahead, many generations after the events of this series unfold. Cybertron is bustling again. It looks very different. All the bots there look very different. There's no war or whatever. And we see Alpha Trion talking to some young bots, and they're asking all sorts of questions about the Great War and this and that and the heroes and Optimus Prime and blah, blah, blah. And Alpha Trion actually introduces them to Ironhide, who is still alive at that point. And these bots are just like, what the fuck, Ironhide? Oh my God. That just blows their minds, right? And he tells them some stories and stuff like that. And it kind of wraps the series up in a kind of cool, much after the fact, peaceful kind of way, right? So yeah, again, I'm not sure if issue 31 is the end of this series, but you know, it was kind of this epilogue issue that warped ahead way into the future. So I'm assuming this series is over. I should probably look it up online, but either way, they didn't have any issues after 31 available in the store. So I'm just assuming that the series is over, and it doesn't even matter, because if they don't have the issues for me to buy, I'm not going to be able to get them anyways. So it is what it is. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this. I really, really hope to go to the store this weekend coming up and get my August issues. And if I'm not getting 10 or 11 more Transformers issues, I should probably be able to read through what I get faster and hopefully have my August review actually in August and not in September like July's was in August this time. So I hope, but I guess we'll have to wait and find out. Peace. Meow.